Joker, Folie Deux is once again directed by Todd Phillips and sees Joaquin Phoenix reprising his role, this time alongside Lady Gaga. In this sequel, we follow Arthur, who is now locked up in Arkham Asylum after the events of the first film. In there, he meets Lee Quinzel, which changes his world, and he falls madly in love. This is a spoiler-free review, you're safe with me. Joker Folie Deux was my most anticipated film of the year. I know the first Joker movie is a very divisive movie, but personally, I think it's a masterpiece. I think it's a fantastic character study. That film built Arthur up perfectly as a character. So when they announced the idea of a Joker 2, I was like, why? But then they announced this was going to be a musical. Once they said that, my low hype completely changed. I thought it was a genius idea. It was a bold idea to do for a sequel to a billion-dollar film. So let's get into pros first. Once again, Joaquin Phoenix is amazing in this role. He is really able to capture this insanity of Arthur. There's a lot in this film about the difference between Arthur and the Joker. I think the way Joaquin finds a difference between those two is really interesting. As I mentioned, Lady Gaga is in here, and I think she does a very good job for the material she's given. I will speak more on that later. Also, Brendan Gleeson, he's just a supporting role here. He doesn't get a ton of screen time, but I really enjoyed his performance as a prison guard here. Visually, I think this movie looks fantastic. First film did, so I assume this one would as well, considering it's shot by the same cinematographer, Lawrence Sher. And especially the visuals during the musical numbers are really nice to look at. You can tell in terms of colours, they really thought about what works in a musical. Also, I think this movie has a really strong start. The first 10 to 15 minutes, I was totally on board with what they were doing, and that is it for my pros. Going into the cons, let's start with the musical numbers. As I mentioned, the musical element was what got me excited for this film. It sounded so fresh, but honestly, they're pointless here. Understandably, there are a lot of people who have gone into Joker 2 skeptical that it's a musical, because the target audience for Joker isn't necessarily the target audience for a musical. Me personally, I'm a big fan of musicals, so I can sit here and tell you this is not a good musical. In a good musical, the musical numbers move the story forward during the songs. The songs are supposed to be an expression of how the characters are feeling. In Joker 2, none of that feels like it's happening. I am not joking when I say the story literally grinds to a halt for a musical number. And then when the musical number is done, the film just continues the story as it was before the musical number. So the musical numbers really do not work here. They really affect the pacing badly. I think another reason why the musical numbers don't work is that I wasn't particularly invested in the romance. Pretty much all of the musical numbers are to do with the romance between Joker and Lee. And this is a very rushed romance. There's not really any time to care about it. As I said, Lady Gaga does a good job for what she's given. The thing is, she's not given a lot to do, so her character just isn't engaging. The marketing really made this sound like a two-hander, like it was Phoenix and Gaga. She is very much a supporting role. This is still very much Arthur/Joker's movie. There's a big chunk of Joker 2 that's a courtroom drama. And don't get me wrong, I love a courtroom drama, but ultimately, a lot of the courtroom stuff just feels like recap from the first movie. It genuinely just feels like characters from the first movie coming up and explaining what happened to them in that movie. It just feels really lazy. Finally, as I said, no spoilers, but a lot has been said about the ending. And I can't lie, this is a terrible ending. This ending legitimately ruins the entire first movie. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to watch the first film the same now, which really hurts because again, I think the first film is a masterpiece. There are things to like in it, but overall, Joker Folie Deux is a huge disappointment. It doesn't have anything new to say, and when it was over, I just kind of wish they'd stuck with one movie. Unfortunately, this time around, the joke was on us as the audience. I'm going to give Joker Folie Deux a C-. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. You guys are awesome. Blu-ray Billy, logging off.